Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of the Cartridge and Disc Podcast. This is your Gen X Gamer here. And today, let's talk about Hideo Kojima, a man that most of us consider to be the quintessential video game artist. To many of us, probably for a lot of people that follow this podcast, we consider video games an art form. There's so many pieces to put in place to create what we call video games by many talented people who in themselves are artists. And I'm talking about the video games that we love, the ones that we remember, the ones full of creativity. Hideo Kojima is a king of another time in gaming, a time that will probably never return. And that's something that we have to accept. He's a man who's fought corporations because of making video games and the way corporations work. Corporations can deliver art for a profit, but it's never going to be their primary goal to create art. Corporations and businesses, they're in the business of making money. An artist is happy to make enough money to sustain themselves. They want to be successful, of course. Many of them would like to get rich if at all possible, but that is not the primary goal of why they create the art they create. Whether you're a writer, a painter, a musician, none of these people get into it for the money. Because when you go and take that career path, the most likely outcome is that you're always going to be poor. That is the truth. Those are the facts. If you're making video games for the love of the video games, and that's all, most likely you're going to make a living doing something else, not making video games, because the industry has changed fundamentally. And I was speaking to somebody in the industry, okay? And we were talking about this specific thing. And they were telling me this. They said, look, let's say that you had a Hideo Kojima out there, and you commission him to, make you video games. First of all, you have to, a lot of times, surrender creative control to that person. And you don't know whether or not that game is going to be successful or not. You're still going to end up paying well over $200 million for the game. Your budget is in no way going to reflect any of the measures that you usually use in a corporate setting. Budget reviews, having the bean counters go over all the expenses, making sure that everything's being spent in a manner that is the most economical, let's say. Looking for the cheapest option. Artists don't do that. Not at all. For a man like Kojima, he wants to realize his vision, and he wants to realize whatever game he has in mind, regardless of whether you're going to like it or not. That's not his primary goal. He's creating art. He's creating an experience for you. And in corporations now, their primary goal is to make a game that's going to produce a return, hopefully of 20% or more. You can see how those are very two separate things. One person's creating art that hopefully people will enjoy, but at the end, he doesn't really care if he becomes wealthy off that art. He just wants to see his vision fulfilled. And on the other hand, you have people that want to create a product, not art, a product that will produce at minimum a 20% return because they have to do better than the stock market. So that's that simple, guys. I mean, it's in the stock market, it goes up and down, but you can trust it to be good over a long period of time for 10%. And the people who back these projects, they're looking for a better return than the stock market. When you invest in Sony, when you invest in Microsoft, when you invest in any of these companies, what you're trying to do is to beat the market. They know that. They know that that is the standard that their stockholders are holding them to. Now, will this type of artist disappear altogether? No, I don't think so. But they are going to be fewer and far between. And for you to command AAA money, which we're talking about over $200 million at this point, you are going to have to be top tier. You are going to have to be looked at as a Kojima figure, as some of the figures at Nintendo. Those type of people. And there isn't many of them left. Because now everything's about teams. Teams this, teams that. Again, I was speaking to this person, and he says a lot of these projects seem disjointed because you have so many people working on a project. And I'll give you an example. These last examples that PlayStation gave, that Sony gave, where they had 300 people. So you can imagine how hard it is to coordinate 300 people. It's not like they're sitting there in a room. You can have them in different places of the country. You can have them everywhere. And you have to coordinate this. And sometimes Peter doesn't talk to Paul. And sometimes there's a lot of changes because of budgeting restraints, because of layoffs, because of that's the way the corporations work, guys. You know, if you've ever been a part of a corporation and you've been through layoffs, it's horrible. You know, you show up to work, you're there with the people that you've, worked with for the, past couple of years, what have you. And all of a sudden here comes a person and it's like the lottery, and they're holding out pink slips to the guy next to you, to the other guy next to you, and you stay. Or sometimes you might be the lucky winner of that layoff lottery, right? And you're gone. There's no continuity there whatsoever. It can change like that. You don't have that when you have a single artist. But again, the drivers are completely different. What are these companies going to do? What are these companies going to do? Well, they're going to continue putting out the same type of games that they have because they're so huge, and that's the way they operate. And you're going to have all these bugs, and you're going to have all these patches because the projects become so large, they almost become unmanageable with all the things that need to be put together. And you can just imagine from a quality standpoint how horrible that becomes, because you have to QC different departments, you have to QC different sections, you got to QC it as a whole. So it becomes very hard. And on top of that, QC is one of the first things people cut, short-sightedly, by the way, when they're making layoffs in any of these big corporations. So that's why you see a lot of what you see out there. That is why you see a lot of what you see. And it is quite common for people to lose track of that. They just think that, these games operate like they used to operate before. And, it's just some guys sitting in a room. Now, that is the case for Kojima. Kojima has a lot more control of his products because he's a single person with a single vision, and everything that he's doing is going to be revolved around that. And you can see it in the quality of games that he puts out. Whether you like him or not, it has nothing to do with it. You can tell in the type of work that he's doing the differences between his style of game and a corporate game. You can tell it in Nintendo, where they give these creators the time and the assets in order to produce the game they're going to produce. Even though Nintendo's also a corporation, they operate very much like artists, but that is not the norm nowadays in corporate video gaming, which is really what we have today. What is going to be the path moving forward? Probably is going to be that you're going to have a Kojima in every single large studio. You're going to have those type of creators, but they're not going to be the driving force. You're going to have them there as exclusive content because you have to make that wager. You're going to give a single person all this power. You're going to give them hundreds of millions of dollars to produce something that you don't know whether or not people are going to like. The only thing you're going to get out of that deal is that you're going to have an exclusive for your platform. That's probably the way this is going to move forward. Kojima has put himself in a very good situation where he can work with different companies doing exclusive content. But there's not many people that can do that. That's why he's a king of a different time. After Kojima, it's going to be a much, much different landscape. All right, guys, I will catch you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching my videos, for subscribing, for commenting. Hey, if you really want to support the channel, go ahead and join. There's a member video up today with some exciting news. I will catch you on the next one. Take care.